Hi, I'm Tiffany, and this is the Balanced Life Podcast. Today's topic is getting paid as a freelancer. I'm going to be working over the next few weeks a series of podcasts focusing on developing a freelancing business, whether you are working as a graphic designer, maybe a ghostwriter, if you're a public speaker, whatever it is. If you are working as a freelancer, a self-employed person, works out of their home, does 1099 work for a variety of people, you're the people I'm talking to right now. We have a gig economy where people are, bringing groceries, delivering food, doing all the things, doing all kinds of side hustles. But there's still a very lucrative and fun place for people who want to pursue their passion as a freelancer. This also includes virtual assistants, which I will be talking about probably in a few weeks, really in depth, because there is a real need for really good virtual assistants, especially ones who can coordinate with the various other freelancers and bring value to clients, much like they would experience in an office. So if that's the kind of thing that's of interest to you, make sure that you are subscribed to this podcast. Make sure that you are following my Substack. I have 2 of them. For new and aspiring freelancers, it would be learningresourcesonline.substack.com. It'll be down in the show notes. For those of you who are more established and trying to find balance, increase your fees, diversify a little bit, you would be buildingthebalancedlife.substack.com. And if you click on the article in the middle of the page, it'll be right there when you open up my Substack page. Each one has its own article to each of your groups. There is a free freelance fee creator tool. It's right here. You'll be able to download it for free. There's a link there that allows you to go and download it. And I hope you'll take advantage of that, because I think one of the big things that freelancers do is we don't consider everything we need to when we establish our fees. We kind of just come up with a number based on things that we've heard. And this is starting out on a broken foot, not just the wrong foot, a broken foot. And so many freelancers get stuck in really low paying or overly high without being able to justify pay. And neither one of those will allow you to have a good, consistent, growing business. So how do you get paid as a freelancer? First of all, you need to establish your fees. That's what that free tool will do for you. It should also, there should be links down in the show notes. If your platform doesn't have it, that's why I gave you my Substacks. The next thing you need to do as a freelancer is you need to require some form of a down payment. Now, this can be hard sometimes at first because there's trust issues. People steal. There's a variety of different ways to get around this, but some of it is just going to be a matter of over time people decide if they want to work with you or not. Progress payments. So the way I set it up after being burned, I had thousands, probably close to $10,000 or more in fees never paid to me. It's part of the reason why I stepped away from my business for a while and only worked with a few really reliable clients that I enjoyed working with, and then came back after about 7 years. It was because people would insist on lower fees, would complain about my hourly fee, and then would only, would pay me a portion, never pay me the last payment, which usually was half at that time, and then just take off. I have people to this day who have outstanding bills, some of whom will from time to time reach out to me and go, I'm going to pay you. And they never do. Progress payments. And then establishing ongoing clients. So what do we do about this? Well, first of all, I suggest getting a down payment that is significant but not scary for your clients, especially if it's not an established client. Because that can cause, it can be a barrier. People understand and work through platforms. So platforms like Upwork and things like that, Fiverr, those kind of platforms that take a gigantic portion from both the person that hires and the person that works. That's why I used to love those platforms. Now I'm not much of a fan, honestly. I have found a couple of really great quality people who work there. And so I do use it as one piece of my business. And as a freelancer, it is one of the ways to help build up your client base and work with people. But just to understand, there are so many fees that are pulled out. It really makes it hard. It's kind of like the Etsy thing. They charge so much of what you're doing. It's very hard to be profitable. So that more is about creating and establishing a resume, a portfolio, validating that you're good at what you do. But as a long-term means of growing your business, unless you've come up with a really great way to do it, and I would love to hear it in the comments below, there is such a sizable chunk that's pulled from your fees, you can make more on your own. All right. So you have the progress payments. I used to charge about 20 or 25% of the full project up front. And then I would, because I was doing like content and developmental editing, one of the things I actually did first is I would say, I will do a, $25 worth of work for you. And I would tell them how much that was and everything, because I want you to see how I do this first, to make sure that you're comfortable with it, to make sure I'm comfortable with your writing, to make sure there's no big surprise, although I did have one happen once. And let's see how we jive before we go in further, because that kind of built up a little bit of that trust. And when they saw the work that I did, and they saw the quality and how in-depth I was in my comments, how I explained things, how I coached them through the process of making the changes, they felt more comfortable with the work that was being done. And then when I said to work with me on the balance, it's 25% of the remaining project. You pay that up front. I will return it to you. You will have to pay this next progress payment, which was probably about another fourth usually. And then we would just go back and forth like that. And then after they received the final manuscript, the final payment was due. But at that point, it was only usually about 20%, 10 to 20%, because of the way I did my progress payments. When I completed the manuscript, they had to pay all but that last piece. And so when that happened, I had very few people not pay that. What happened before is I would do like half of it, they would pay me, and then I'd do the other half. Well, a lot of my work, my projects, and this was 15 years ago, would be between $500, $1,000, sometimes $4,000 if we were writing a big section of a book or something. And so for someone to just not pay me half, that's how there was so much. So in your own fee structure, you need to clearly articulate up front. You need to give clients a clear understanding of fees and what it's going to cost them. Here's an important thing. If you are charging by the hour, then it is very reasonable and good practice to estimate to them how many hours it will take you to complete that task, and overestimate, because coming back to someone and saying, I expected this to be a $200 project. However, when I got into it, I was able to do this, that, and the other. It's only $160. So you've paid me, this portion already. This is what's due. Let me tell you, that's how you build a client base. Now, don't falsely inflate it, but if you end up working and it costs as much, the point is not going over the full payment or a little bit less. You would be amazed at how excited people get. Be honest about it. Like I said, don't use this as a tactic to overinflate and then because over time people will start to just not believe you. And but if you're honest in that way and you say this is what it actually was, then that is a great way to not undercut yourself, to do high quality work for clients, but make a very positive impression, because your name will probably go out to others too. And even let people know, hey, I'm estimating and I might overestimate from time to time. I try to be as close as possible, but I will let you know if there's going to be an overage, and I will let you know if it takes me less time, especially if you can get it back to them early, because it does take so much less time. Let me tell you why this is important. I used to hire people to work for me hourly or work with me when I was a professional writer. I still am, but I was doing a lot more like longer, like novels and novels and books and things that I had proofread or content read or assessed and things kind of like this. And I had one experience where the person charged by the hour and it was a very reasonable rate. However, when I got the bill, it was 2.5 times what I had anticipated the bill would be based on how quickly I worked. So when I got the bill, I had one number in my mind, the other, and she says, yeah, people are often surprised, but I'm very thorough, very detailed, and so it takes me longer than most people. In those cases, it is okay and it is good, but you need to make clear to people, my hourly rate is this. A project like this will probably take me this many hours between this and this. I would plan on the higher end. And then if it comes in lower, you make people happy. That is how you get paid as a freelancer. You have clear communication. You have down payments with progress payments. You establish professionalism and you let people know what to expect so no one is blindsided, and you are less likely to be taken advantage of, because the people who ask for a free sample, they taste. They even if they don't mean to, they're using you. They're getting it from a bunch of different people, and it's very unlikely that they'll work with you. That's why I never give a free sample. I'll let people, when I do content edits, which I rarely do anymore, but when I do them, I say, I'll do $25 or $50 worth of work, whatever we decide. And then you can see how it is that I work, and you can determine if this is something you want to move forward with. I do not do it for free. And I charge by the word. I don't charge by the hour. That way I can say to people, look, based on what I've seen here, this is what the per word charge is going to be. And then you move forward. So it's not just about your invoicing software and, making sure and that it's about building that professional rapport back and forth, making sure that you put up certain boundaries to make sure that you're paid along the way. If somebody can't pay you at a stage, you don't go any further. I don't care how much they need it, because you need to be able to be paid because you need it. This is not a volunteer organization or charity work. This is work that you are doing to help feed your family, take care of your bills, do what you need to do, and your time is valuable. But don't be overinflated on what the value of your time is. Make sure that the work you are doing in that time returns value. You are not paid based on the time you spend on something. You are paid based on the value that you're going to bring to that client. And so how much value will they get out of what they're paying you for? How much value is that providing to their company? You have to understand there's a give and take there, because ultimately they also need to make money. That's really the foundation. But if you want the more practical, like with equations and things like that, then you'll want to go and download my free freelance fee creator tool. Man, it is just really hard to say that so fast. I designed it to help you to create a fee structure that will make you profitable while still marketable. And I hope that you will also join my free Substack. And the link to that should be in the show notes. If not, I've given it to you at the beginning of the show. I am Tiffany from The Balanced Life. I'm so happy you were with us today. If any of this you realize that you've messed up, don't worry about it. We all fail sometimes. Just try to fail forward. I'll see you next time.